So, welcome to Module 1 of Easy Ways to Take Better Photos with your digital SLR. And in this module, we're going to be looking at the 3 things that you must learn to do before you take any photos with your digital SLR. And that actually could be any photos with any camera at all. So, let's move on. So the first thing that I make all my students do before we even go out into the field and take any photographs is to teach them how to hold their camera correctly. Digital SLRs in particular are extremely heavy pieces of equipment, even though they've become a lot lighter in more recent years. Compared to something like your iPhone, if that's what you've been used to, or a point and shoot camera, a digital SLR is a much more difficult thing to hold. And they have been designed particularly in a particular way to help you hold them correctly, but most people don't actually ever take the time to learn how to do that. So if you're holding your camera in your hand right now, you'll know that you grab the right hand side of the camera has got a grip around it, that little barrel. It's designed to hold your fingers are designed to wrap around that with your index finger on the shutter button so that you can easily access that. And then there's a little thumb rest around the back that you should see that your hand ergonomically grips that camera very easily, your right hand. Now, the left hand is the bit that most people have the issue with, and you can see in the photos here of Sam holding the camera that he's actually doing it the correct way. What people do is they have their hand over the top of the lens, and when you hold your hand over the top of the lens, there's chances that your fingers can get in front of the lens, there's chances that your fingers can get in front of the flash, and it just can cause problems. So the idea is that your left hand, the heel of your hand should support the bottom or the base of your camera, or a longer lens if you're using a longer lens. And it's harder for guys to have that hand in underneath the camera, but definitely in under the lens. And then you should thread the zoom ring of your camera through your thumb and your forefinger, and that's how you zoom. So it's an action where you don't ever move your hand from the base of your camera. And so what that does is it gives you a lot more support when you're holding the camera. You hold the camera steady, so there's a better chance that you're going to take a better shot, and you're also not going to be inclined to dip the camera down, which is what happens when you're holding your camera from the lens at the top. You tend to dip your camera down and you're not straight on when you're taking your pictures, which can give you distortion in your pictures and give you a kind of a funky angle on some of your images, so you don't want to do that. So holding your camera correctly is vitally important before you ever take a photograph. So like I said, important to support your camera correctly, and it stops your fingers getting in the way of the flash, and it helps to reduce shake or blur because you've just got that little bit more of a sturdiness. So also tuck your elbows in to your body, and that will help you almost make a little tripod out of your body. And I always say it helps to help not look like a flapping chicken with your elbows out to the side. Keep your elbows tucked in and you'll look cuter too. Now, a bonus tip for you that I haven't mentioned in the 3, this is an extra one, is to use your viewfinder on your DSLR and not the LCD screen. Most of us are used to LCD screens now and been able to see exactly what's going on in the camera by looking at the little screen or that nice big view. But your digital SLR is actually designed to work best with you looking through the viewfinder. All of the information that you need to make a correct exposure is in the viewfinder, and the more you start to get familiar with those numbers, the better they'll be. So if you just take a time to look through your viewfinder now and look at the green, usually the green numbers along the bottom, those are your shutter speed, aperture and ISO numbers that you'll get to know a lot easier or a lot more when you start to learn more about photography. It's easier to focus, I feel, when you're looking through your viewfinder, and it's just that little bit quicker. And as I say, it's easier to transition to manual eventually once you're familiar with looking through that little screen. So that's something that you should do as well. Okay, so the second thing that you need to do before you take any photos is to make sure that your quality is set correctly. Now, in digital SLRs, generally the quality is broken down into two separate functions. It's broken into compression and resolution. So the quality is determined by how your image file is compressed. So if you're shooting in a JPEG format, which you probably are if you're already just shooting in automatic, that file can be compressed a lot or a little bit or hardly at all. And if you compress a file a lot, the quality is reduced because you can compress it to squash it down to fit more on your card, but you can't then decompress it to make it look better. So you always want to keep that compression as low as possible, and that will result in the better quality image. In this day and age, we're not really worried about having not enough space on our memory cards, so it's fine to go ahead and keep that compression low. And then the second part of that quality equation is the resolution, and that's the number of pixels, and that's determined by how many pixels your camera has the capacity for recording. Now, it's my belief, although it's not everybody's belief, but it's my belief that you should keep your resolution set to the highest resolution that your camera can record. Why have bought a 24 megapixel camera if you're only going to keep your resolution set to 12? I mean, I just don't see the point in doing that. So I feel if you've got the resolution, keep it to the highest, and then although your file sizes will be quite big, you will be able to have more flexibility with your photo in post-production. So keep your quality as high as possible and the compression as low as possible. And those two things will really help to make your pictures the best they can be. Now here on the Nikon, this is where you'll see your picture quality. So we have here it's set to RAW, which is another file type which you would do if you were shooting more in the manual modes. And weren't afraid to play around with it in post-production. And you can see that it's set here to L, which is the highest quality in terms of number of pixels that this camera can take. Each camera will be a little bit different, so you need to check out your manual for that. And in Canon, you can see that the quality indicator is down here, which you can access by pressing the Q button here to access this menu, or you can go into the actual menu file to change the quality setting there too. So the third thing that you're going to do before you take any photos is format your memory card. Now, formatting your memory card is probably not something that you have ever done before, or at least not since you have bought the camera. But what a format is, it's just like formatting any kind of a memory on a computer or what have you. It is a scrub or a deep clean of all of the information that's on your memory card. Now, if you've had old memory cards that have been around for a year or two and you haven't formatted, there will be some residual information left on that card, meaning that there's a greater chance that your images could be corrupted, that your card is slower to record and slower to download. So it's a good idea and a good habit to get into formatting your card on a regular basis. Now, a word of warning, this will delete all of the information that is on your card. So only do this if you're prepared to say goodbye to your images and not see them again on that memory card. And you do that in the settings menu. So you want to be able to put that into your workflow so that formatting your memory card just becomes something you do after you upload your images, you've backed them up, you're finished with them, then you can format your memory card, and so your card is ready to go again. So check in your settings menu, usually looking for that little wrench icon within the setup menu, or maybe in the playback menu. You'll have to just check and consult your manual for that, and format your card, and it will usually give you a warning, are you sure you want to do this, because it will delete everything off your card. So those are the three things before you even get your camera out and get taking any pictures that you want to do to prepare yourself and your camera for taking the best shots possible.